Have you ever looked at your bank account and realized $100 just disappeared? You did not buy anything big. You did not go on a shopping spree, but the money is gone. If you were diagnosed with ADHD later in life, you likely know this feeling all too well. It is a phenomenon known as the ADHD tax. For many women, this is not just a few dollars here and there. Over a lifetime, it adds up to tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost wealth. This is the hidden mechanism that keeps productive, high-earning women feeling broke in reality, even when they look rich on paper. The problem is that most financial advice is built for a brain that does not exist for you. You are told to track every penny, use complex spreadsheets, and just have more discipline. But for an ADHD brain, discipline is a finite resource that gets used up by 2 in the afternoon just trying to answer emails. When you try to follow traditional rules and fail, you do not just lose money. You lose your confidence. You start to believe you are just bad with money. But you are not bad with money. You are just paying a tax that you didn't sign up for. Let us look at the first layer of this tax. I call it the friction tax. This is the money you lose simply because a task felt too heavy to start. It's the gym membership you haven't used in 6 months, but cannot bring yourself to cancel because the website is confusing. It's the library fine that turned into a collection notice because you forgot the book was in your car. These small amounts seem insignificant in the moment, but they create a constant leak in your financial bucket. Over a decade, a $40 monthly subscription you don't use is nearly $5,000 gone. That's a vacation or a significant contribution to an index fund that just vanished because of a tiny bit of mental friction. But why does this happen? Most people think it's laziness, but it's actually a dopamine deficit. Your brain is constantly scanning for a hit of interest or urgency to get moving. If a task like calling a bank is boring, your brain literally treats it as a low priority until it becomes a crisis. By the time it's a crisis, the late fee has already hit. This is why women with late-diagnosed ADHD often find themselves in their 40s with a high income but very little to show for it. They're running a marathon with a backpack full of rocks that other people simply do not have to carry. Let me give you a real picture of how this builds. Imagine 3 subscriptions you forgot about. A streaming service you swapped but never canceled. A meditation app you used twice. And a storage plan for photos you could keep for free. None of them feels big enough to deal with on a Tuesday. But together that's maybe $60 a month, leaving your account quietly. For years, you are not careless. You simply never got the hit of urgency that would make canceling them feel worth the effort. And the companies know this. Their entire business model is built on the gap between the moment you meant to cancel and the moment you actually do. This leads us to the second layer, which is the impulse tax. This is the most visible part of the problem. It is the 2 a.m. online shopping for a hobby you will abandon in 3 weeks. It's the premium grocery delivery because you forgot you already had food in the fridge. It is about your brain trying to regulate its own chemistry. When you are stressed or understimulated, your brain sees a purchase as a quick solution to feel better. The mistake is thinking that a better budget will fix this. It won't. You cannot budget your way out of a neurobiological drive. Here is something that helped me stop feeling ashamed about this. The impulse purchase is not the disease. It is the symptom. Your brain is doing exactly what it is wired to do, which is to reach for the fastest available source of stimulation. A neurotypical brain might reach for that too, but it usually has a stronger brake. Yours has a quieter one. So instead of hating yourself for the spending, get curious about what you were feeling right before you clicked buy. Were you bored? Anxious? Avoiding something hard? The purchase is almost always a message about your nervous system, not a character flaw. So, how do we actually stop the cycle? We have to move away from the idea of being more disciplined and move toward being more strategic. The first minimalist money rule for an ADHD brain is to automate everything that creates friction. If you have to remember to pay a bill, you have already lost. Set every single recurring expense to autopay. Even if it feels scary to not have total control, the tax of a late fee is always higher than the risk of an automated payment. You want to reduce the number of financial decisions you have to make every month to as close to 0 as possible. The second step is to create a dopamine buffer. Instead of telling yourself you can never buy anything on impulse, create a small separate account for what I call guilt-free dopamine. This is money that is allowed to be spent on whatever your brain is currently obsessed with. When that account is empty, the spending stops. This creates a boundary that protects your long-term wealth without making you feel like you are living in a financial prison. This is how you start building what I call quiet wealth. It is not about the big checks or the flashy life. It is about the peace of mind that comes from knowing your future is secure because your systems are doing the work for you. The size of this account matters less than the fact that it exists. Some women start with $50 a month, others with $200. The point is that the boundary is built into the structure, not into your willpower. When the money is there, you spend it freely and without guilt. When it is gone, the decision has already been made for you. There is no negotiating with yourself at midnight, because the system already answered the question. There's another hidden part of the ADHD tax that most women overlook, and that is the cost of being overwhelmed. When your finances feel like a chaotic mess, you are more likely to ignore them entirely. This leads to what I call the ostrich effect. You stop looking at your bank account. You stop opening mail. This is where the real damage happens. In this state, you miss opportunities to invest. You ignore rising interest rates on your debt. And you lose out on the power of compounding interest. Every year you wait to fix this is a year of exponential growth you can never get back. The cruel part of the ostrich effect is that the avoidance feels like relief in the moment. Not looking at the bank account lowers your anxiety today. Every unopened envelope, every ignored statement is a small problem quietly growing into a large one. And the longer you avoid it, the scarier it becomes to look, which makes you avoid it even more. This is the loop that traps so many smart, capable women. The way out is not to suddenly become a person who loves spreadsheets. It is to make looking so quick and so painless that there is nothing left to dread. Think about it this way. If you could save just $200 a month by eliminating the ADHD tax, and you put that into a simple, low-cost index fund, in 30 years, that would grow to nearly $500,000 based on historical averages. That is the true cost of the mistake. It is not the $20 late fee. It is the $500,000 of future freedom you are giving away. When you realize the scale of the mechanism, it becomes much easier to prioritize the systems that stop the leak. To stop the cycle for good, you need to change your environment, not your personality. If online shopping is your trigger, remove your credit card information from your browser. Make it as hard as possible to spend money in a moment of low dopamine. If you struggle with forgotten subscriptions, use a tool that scans your accounts and cancels them for you. You want to build a financial fortress where your mistakes are caught by the system before they cost you money. This is the core of a stronger money mindset. It is acknowledging your limitations and building a world where they no longer matter. As we move into 2026, the world is becoming more designed to trigger our impulses. One-click shopping and targeted ads are specifically built to exploit the way an ADHD brain works. This means the ADHD tax is only going to get more expensive if you do not have a plan. You have to be more intentional than the algorithms. This does not mean you have to be perfect. It just means you have to be honest about where your money is going and why. If you are in your 40s and just receiving this diagnosis, you might feel a sense of grief for the money you have lost over the last 2 decades. That is a normal reaction. But the best time to stop the tax was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. Your 40s are often the most financially dangerous decade because your income is higher, but your responsibilities are also at their peak. By stopping the cycle now, you are ensuring that your 50s and 60s are defined by security rather than stress. Wealth is built in the quiet moments. It is built in the subscriptions you cancel, the automated transfers to your savings, and the decision to stop fighting your own brain. When you stop trying to manage your money like everyone else, you finally give yourself the space to actually succeed. You are not broken, and you are not destined to be broke. You have a beautifully wired brain, and you just need a different set of rules. Once I discovered I had ADHD at 63, I learned everything I could. It wasn't easy, but keeping my nervous system calm is my #1 priority now, and it's making a difference in my bank account. If you found this helpful, it is likely because you are looking for a way to make your financial life feel less like a battle. The key is to keep things simple and focus on the habits that actually move the needle. In my next video, I am going to break down the specific habits that women are using to build quiet wealth, even with a late diagnosis. These are the unsexy, practical moves that most people never hear about, but they are the ones that actually work for brains like ours. I will see you there.